So we start off by not talking about, containers and var links and all these things. We're going to start off old school with some visual design. So I'm going to be talking about, it's called symbolic achievements, as if we've done a lot of things. We did do a lot of things, but it's also like mostly potential achievements, because there's a lot of things that we can still do. So I was gonna do a little overview of our icon styles over the years, but I would not finish this presentation. And because Lapo Calamandre is watching the stream, and he's gonna laugh at me for not finishing the thing, I'm gonna skip over the past, and we're just gonna talk about the past, but not that long ago. So we've been doing monochrome symbols for button icons for ages. That predates GNOME 3 release. The initial inspiration came from the Open Hand folks that did the amazing Moblin platform that also inspired some other things, like using workspaces to manage many windows rather than minimizing them into a dock and all those kinds of things. But they did these really lovely symbols contrasting to our full color icons that you had to work really hard to make them legible on different backgrounds and all sorts of things, while the symbols were in many ways similar to text, where you could get good contrast by just setting the foreground color to be contrasty to the background color, which is, the way to achieve good contrast. We sort of rolled them before GNOME, or they started showing up before GNOME 3, but it was GNOME 3 where we fully embraced it for the apps. Of course, it came into this icon theming world, and we had sort of a hack to force the icons to be this specific symbol style. But overall, you can't really see, because I just used a wallpaper with the symbols, but they were not very consistent, in terms of style. Most of them were stencils, so filled shapes, and some of them were outlines. It was just all over the place. So that I jumped a few years to the last stable release, GNOME 50, where nobody actually noticed that we've shipped hundreds of icons that you either didn't notice that they're new, they're using a different rendering path, because they were kind of modeled to maintain that 2-pixel stroke width for the 16 by 16 nominal canvas. And also there's a Advaita icon theme in the way that many of these icons you don't really see. So what's new about the style? So all the metaphors are actually quite simplified, because the fact that they're stroke only, so that there's a path that's being stroked, makes it harder to add detail. So for example, the old stencil style allowed you, it's actually quite difficult to do a thing with a hole in the stroke only style. So you usually have to work around and change the metaphor to get the point across. But also the constraints make it much easier to scan. You either get the icon, and also there's the Stephen Garrity rule that when you can't really express the metaphor with an icon, it shouldn't be an icon. We have currently over 1,000 icons in the new style. It's getting close to 1,100. So as with everything, if you're trying something new, you gotta do, you gotta try it out. So I guess with 1100 icons, we did try out the style, and it's working fairly well. What was I going to say there? Yes, good quality. Oh yeah. So there was a plan to go through a number of things. First one was the GTK stock icons. We got that. Then there's covering all the named icons that the Adwaita icon theme provides. We got that. There's the idiotically named icon development kit, which is like this library of icons that people are free, or app developers are free to query and ship alongside their apps, and they're to be certain that nothing changes under their feet. And like I said, there's over 1,000 icons. Now, so they are stroke only, which is great, but they don't have to be. Another attribute of these new icons is that they're multistate. What does that mean? So you can have like multiple icons within an icon, which is useful for multiple reasons. So for example, it's quite common on the mobile apps to emphasize the checked state for a button, because usually I have, to make it clearer which one is checked, I use 3 here, so I'm cheating. But like if you have just 2 buttons, very many times you're like wondering, well, which one is on and which one is off. So the fact that you can have an icon that has both the outline state and the filled state can enhance the fact that the button is pushed, because the filled state in here is meant for the active view in this view switcher. There's many other uses for states. So for example, Tobias was really not happy with the media playback icons to be outlined. So I mean, for me, they're fine if they're in a button, like in a player. But for example, the OSD, the overlay icons, are kind of hard to see. So it's true that the filled variant would work much better. So again, you can use the filled state. I'm going to talk a bit about states later, but you can use the filled state for a specific context. The driving force to redo all these icons for me was that you can have variable weight, as in like visual weight. We used to, with the old style symbolics, we used to like do that, mimic that with opacity. So when you had text, large text, and then you would have this very like heavy 2-pixel stroke on a 16 by 16 nominal canvas, and you scale it up, it suddenly starts like being super bold, very, very heavy. So we like lowered the opacity to have it in sync with the text that wasn't that heavy. Now we have the ability to set the visual weight with a stroke, and it's not just like a simple. I mean, it is, like, I don't want to get into details, but it would be like, because like I said, to get contrast, icons became a little bit like text, and many other platforms use fonts to do icons, because fonts are kind of the natural, implementation of how you could do symbols. However, we lack decent tooling to be able, because like people don't like font designers kind of finish a typeface and it's done. With icons, like it's a constant update, so it's really tricky. Like all the tooling is proprietary, and it would be, you know, it would be great to do it as fonts, but like we opted to do something that's that has tooling and it's simple, and that's SVG. But we do have something more sophisticated than just simple stroke width, like a uniform. Like many of icons can live with just one stroke width, but we do have means to set like interpolate between 3 values for the stroke width. So you can have like certain lines that are thinner in the icon for adding some detail. And even this is like one of the examples. It's a donut, very useful metaphor. It's like you can think of many uses for this icon. No, it's just like to demonstrate that you can have a detail that's only for the like a large scale that usually uses lower stroke width. And if you have a small icon with you know thick strokes, you don't have that extra detail. So you can do that. This is a screen capture of the stroke width in action. So while this isn't meant to be like user control, this is really for the toolkit or the app to do the decisions of, you know, at what size to use what stroke width. But I'm sure that people will be exposing all this everywhere, but that's not what it's meant for. It also demonstrates the different states. So this is a filled state, so that uses like the shape, and you can see the cutout of the sort of like the brushes separating, and that's using, because Matthias, when we started, big shout out to Matthias for implementing the GtkSvg. He's going to be giving a talk on this later, like directly after my talk or one after. So it has gained a lot of functionality, a lot more functionality than initially. So while what I'm demoing here is a very small subset, there's a lot of potential that of things that we could be using. So this is using masks. So we can use masks. The first kind of user of the exposing the icons out in the wild was libadwaita, doing what I wanted for the longest of time, where the symbolic icons were not working particularly well, because like I said, if you scale up the 2-pixel 16 by 16 to a larger than 64 canvas, it just becomes too thick. So in here, for the empty views, we can use thinner strokes, and it looks elegant. So it was the first one to actually use those in the wild. Yeah. Also, Alice, being the first one to use it, actually figured out that it's not very ergonomic or convenient to be using like just conventions to call the states by integers. So now we have named states. So when you look up an icon, you can look it up by name and then provide the state as a name as well. I think I'm gonna skip over that because I was hoping that we're gonna get. So Alice was doing a lot of work on like figuring out what icons are actually used among apps. I don't have the spreadsheet. She did really good job of identifying the icons that are actually used out in the wild, so that libadwaita can have, because like the promise on ours, like why am I doing all the symbolic icon stuff? For the apps to have an easy job of shipping icons that don't change, randomly, because the semantic named giant theme, you can't even add an icon because you need to make everything work together. So Alice was really into shipping like a basic set of named icons that are easy to use, just like look it up by name, because like we haven't shipped a very pleasant developer experience to look up from those thousands of icons and bundle it in your app as a G resource. It's tedious and people don't want to do it, and they want to do a named lookup. So I was hoping that I can plug somebody else's work, but it's not done yet. So it may happen for 110, but maybe not. It's going to be like I was aiming at like 30 icons. She actually settled to something like it's over 100. I think it's 200. Yeah, another thing that that the new icons could be good at, but we don't actually use yet, is transitions and animation. I could probably launch a icon shaper. I have it, but I now need to put it in here. Oh, it's laggy. It's laggy. Okay. There's like a half a second delay, so I feel like I'm. There we go. Okay, so we can do animation. Sort of. Yeah, so this is one of the ways that you can animate the icons. There's some paths that are not meant to be displayed. They're just invisible, and they're used for driving other paths to move along them. There's other path-based, like usually if you did SVG animation on the web, most of the things that are like drawing paths, there's like a dashed line, and you just animate, the offsets of the properties. But this like masks all the hackish elements of it, and yeah, let's move on. So the thing that this rendering allows us, but we don't quite have tooling, mainly because I couldn't design it properly, but it could be really great, is the keyframed animation. So for the transitions especially, this is just a mock-up in Blender, but there's actually tooling. There's two contributors to the visual design world in GNOME that I haven't met, and I only know a nickname, which is very like 1990s. And one of them is GNOME. So this mysterious person has been animating, the SVG illustrations in something called Friction. So I'm hoping that I can get to use that for the transitions, and using the stateful icons that way. But that's, yeah, but this is me just struggling to bolt the animation, the keyframed animation into Shaper, which is the tool of choice. A huge thanks to Matthias for doing the tooling. So that's what, it's not a tool to do the shapes themselves. Like we have Inkscape for that, but it manages all the animation and transition, or the attributes of the icon. So you can have opacity for grouping and the stroking, the min medium, max, all the logic of the multi-state icons are done in Shaper, which currently is shipping with GTK, but Matthias would like it to be an app. If anybody's interested in, tackling the transition animation stuff with me, then please, find me and let's talk. The other existing tooling, Maximiliano has done initial work on, having icon library, which is the tool to look up icons and, get some hand-holding hints on how to, take them and put them into your app as a G resource. So to make it use the new stuff, it's not quite ready and landed yet, but hopefully very soon. I think it also depends on how the stock icons in libadwaita themselves land. So it would be great to have icon library use the new stuff as well. So for 51, I was hoping to get the first visible, like I said, we already have those icons landed in many places within GNOME 50, but nobody, sees them because they're used the same way as the old ones. I would love to update, or wanted to have the initial states, empty states of apps to use the new style of icons with the weight lowered so that it looks elegant, just like in libadwaita. Not sure if we're gonna manage that. Yeah, so there's a mock-up of how things could look like. Of course, I would love to, this is like that's the animation type of animation, the transition. So it's a very subtle thing. Instead of just getting the window, open up binary, it would have this really nice introduction. There's apps that are using the new style, like Gite, which is like this graphical interface on top of Git. I have maps here because I wanted to land all these things, but maps is actually using so many icons, so I didn't quite finish. So it's, again, I'm lying. It's not, maps is still, it's in progress. It's in progress. So there's like a little overview of what's ahead of us in terms of the new symbolics. I don't know how much time I got. I would sort of briefly touch on why I hate the semantic naming so much. Because it's tricky in that every software, free software project, there's a mantra of that it's very easy to add things, but pretty much impossible to change things or remove things. Well, I found you a thing where even adding new things is very hard, and that's semantic naming. So the thing is that you don't name your icons, describing what's on them. You actually name them according to the function that they're supposed to be, communicating. The problem is that, for example, the cross, you have, a very commonly used metaphor for closing windows. Okay, well, let's call it window close. But then there's many contexts where you can use, and there's prior art, to use the very same icon, closing an item within a list. Perfectly fine to have the exact same. If you build a semantic global icon theme, you can't have, you have unique, 1 minute, okay, that's good. You have to have a unique name and function for each, so then you oh, everybody like uses a lock for secure connection. Well, we already have that for locking, preventing changes. So you gotta do that. So everything where you would normally, somebody approaches you, I want to do this, where do I find the icon? And I'm going, well, you can't use that because like we use that for preventing changes. Use the shield. And they're like, so everybody ends up using I want to use the lock. So they use the lock. And then you can't change because like, if you want to add a new icon, then, well, there's already this, but it would, this metaphor would better be used for this. So I'm going to change all the three, but then you change the three, everybody keeps shouting at you. You can't really change because like it's already used in the out there. So like it's a big pain to be using, and also like metaphors outlive. Nobody knows what a floppy is these days for save. So horrible. I hate them. So I really like just descriptive names. There's an icon, prior art, perfectly fine to use at this context. Just use it. There you have it. So I wanna, if somebody approaches me, I want an icon for this. I want to look at the app. I want to look at the current context. This would work great. Here you go. That's it. I want to thank you to these people mainly for making it happen. Waterbigs again. I only know I don't know the person. I only know the nickname. Thank you for helping me out with lots of the symbols. And I'll thank you for attention.